He was in a nursing home for so long, like the dementia took over, and it was just one of those things to where like that wasn't my dad anymore. The man, like the Marine, like the preacher, like the strong person that my dad was, that wasn't him anymore. But like his soul had left his body. He was just a body surviving.
Hey listeners, it's Stephanie. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I want to give you a little bit of an extra warning for this episode. I know there's already a pre-warning out there for listeners' discretion. Just know that there are some extra things in this episode, and you definitely want to maybe take a minute and make sure that your kids are not in the room for this. If you listen all the way to the end of this episode, you will hear, as promised, Alex has given me permission to use his band's music. His band is called the Mishaps. Let me know what you think. As always, please take a minute to rate, review, and share the show. And if you're looking for more episodes to listen to, this week I'm going to spotlight our men's shows where men have been interviewed. So those episodes are episode 2, 7, 9, 13, 15, 16, and 22. Thanks.
All right. So I am Alex Aldape. I am from Dodge City, Kansas. I live in Kansas City. I'm married with 0 children. We have a dog named Tilly, and we have a cat named Shitrock.
This is a fact production, you city.
Little oval face that makes me sad comes and goes by. Could wrote the book of Joe instead. Oh, to go now. Heavy eyes, so help me make this bed over and over. Tell me what it takes to make you stay so lonely.
Welcome to Parentless Alex Aldape. I am pretty stoked that you're here. I'm sad that this is the reason why we're talking, but I'm always glad to connect with other people. And just for our listeners, I'll throw it out there that Alex is actually somebody that we know from Kansas. We've hung out. He's bought my kids presents. He's been to my house in Arizona. Him and his wife are pretty cool people. And it's been a while since we've talked. So this is I'm looking forward to this conversation. Awesome. And I don't know that Alex is a type of a person to really open up much. I don't know. I haven't seen you that way, and I don't think we've had a conversation like that. Why are we here? Who are we talking about for you?
We're talking about my father, and my dad was a very complicated but very, very passionate human being. He started his life pretty much like I did, just as a rebel, and he was like a rebel without a cause. Like he was just that type of human being. And, this is back in the 1930s. He was born in 1931. And so when World War II happened, he actually lied about his age and joined the Marine Corps at 14.
Whoa. And you're supposed to be 18, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But it was World War II, and he was a Mexican. So they didn't really ask for papers. They just were like, oh, you want to go fight? Fuck it. Let's go.
Right.
Sent him straight to boot camp. Now, he didn't see any combat in World War II, but the reason he went was because his brother, I've got my uncles my dad and my uncles were in every branch of the military. So I had an uncle in the Army, uncle in the Navy, uncle in the Air Force. And so my dad was like, fuck it, I'm joining the Marines. Because he wanted to be like, the way he told me was he's like, the Marines are the ones that get the job done. They're boots on the ground. He's like, if we've got the enemy. He's like, I want to fight that enemy, which is ballsy. Ballsy. Oh God, it's so ballsy. Like for a 14-year-old kid, when I was 14 years old, I was like trying to find people to buy me cigarettes and like maybe give me some shitty weed. And this guy's like, I'm going to go fight for this country.
So Tommy, his, I don't know, balls to the wall, I guess, view on that. Did that follow him for the rest of the stuff?
Oh, for the rest of his life. For the rest of his life. Honestly, at his, and I'll get more into his funeral a little later, but like, he was a Marine. I still have his, Marine Corps hat that has his tour when he actually saw combat. He was in Korea for 3 years. And, towards the end of his life, like right before the dementia got him, I think he wanted somebody to see or to know what happened to him. And, because when I was a kid, I was just like, oh, you're all like, Southwest Kansas kid. You're like, man, did you ever shoot anybody? I'm from Dodge City. We come from gunfighters and stuff. But like, I was just like, man, you went to Korea. You went to World War II. Did you ever shoot anybody? He would always say, like, I don't know if I shot anybody. They were shooting at me, so I shot back. I don't know if it killed anybody. Then towards the end of his life, he finally like broke it down. He's like, yeah, he's like, I made some bad decisions. And well, there's a caveat to that because at one point in time, when I was like 21, I was trying to join the Marine Corps and they wouldn't take me because my blood pressure was too high. And I think that's a family thing now. I mean, it's hereditary because he had really high blood pressure, but in World War II, they didn't give a fuck. But, after 9/11 happened, I was ready to go across seas. I was going to join the Marine Corps. I was going to be like my dad. And then I made it all the way up to the ASVAB test and they didn't take me because of my high blood pressure. So a few years later, once he started to get to where he was, he was just like, the best thing that ever happened to me was you crying from MEPS saying that the Marines wouldn't take you. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I was trying to be like you. And he's like, yeah, but there's a reason that I'm happy about that. I'm like, well, what's the reason? He's like, because you don't need to see the things that I've seen. And I'm about ready to start tearing up because he was so honored that I tried. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he was just like, that kid's got to come back fucked up. Mm-hmm. And he was fucked up for a long time, man. I mean, he started this at 14. He didn't meet my mom until he was in his late 40s. So, wow. He had 2 other kids, my brother and sister. But he was just, he was really, really fucked up for a long time because of the shit he saw in Korea. And he didn't really open up to me until like the last few years before he completely lost it. And he was just like, yeah, he's like, you always wanted to ask. He's like, I think you're ready for me to talk to you about what I saw in Korea. And I was like, okay, well, let me grab a beer. Let's talk about this. And he's like, I've shot children. I'm like, okay, right out of the fucking gate, bro. Like just doing that. He's like, well, no, here's the thing is like in Korea, we would always try to help the kids and we would always try to help the women and children. So they would put the kids under these blankets and they would have grenades under their arms. So once they got to the American troops, they would just open their arms and let the grenades drop and then kill a whole platoon. So he's like, I don't know how many I don't know how many innocent women and children we killed, but they were just a threat. So he's like, I'm not proud of it. I'm like, well, I mean, at that point, I'm like, you know what, dude, if that was a tactic, I don't think you should feel guilty. He's like, no, I feel guilty because there were kids that we would, after, you always go investigate the body. And there were no grenades. It was just a hungry kid that just wanted, a Hershey bar from an American soldier. And he's like, yeah, I shot one. And he's like, I remember burning villages to the ground. He's like, it's not cool. I mean, those weren't his words. I mean, he was very more eloquent with the way he spoke. But he was just like, he's like, that's why I never when you asked me if I killed people when you were a kid, I never told you because you're not ready for that. For these stories.
Yeah. And can you now you're an adult and I know you don't have kids, but what it must take for you to ask him a question and be interested in that, what it had to have taken for him to just kind of breeze over it and not, he had to keep that to himself, I guess, for so long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think he finally felt a relief. And this was This was like 10 years ago. I mean, when I was building hotels. I was living in Dumas, Texas, and he came down for the weekend. And my brother-in-law was there when he started telling. And that's the first time, the first and only time I ever had a beer with my dad was because he was a preacher and alcohol was the devil. But when he was younger, he was a beer drinking, pot smoking rebel. Then he found the Lord, and I don't knock him for that.
But I want to talk about that in a little bit. That's important.
Yeah, but so we were in Dumas, and I bought some PBR. He's like, man, you drink Pabst Blue Ribbon? I was like, yeah. Can I have one of those? Like, excuse me? What are we talking about here? It's like, I want one. And then that's when he kind of just sat down and talked to me about all this stuff. And he's just like, I'm not a perfect man. I'm like, I didn't expect you to be, bud. Like, but he told me, I mean, when he started getting into it, I just, like, my jaw dropped. I was like, dude, the shit you've seen in your fucking life. The thing, like, I just, like, just to live a day through that man's eyes would be so insane. I mean, he died when he was 88. And, I'm 36. I can't even fathom. He did this at the beginning of his life, 14. He was in the Marine Corps for 18 years. So holy shit, from a 14-year-old kid to being in your mid 20s and getting out. I don't understand how he became the man that he was, because I would have been I'm already a bitter asshole, and I've honestly had it pretty well through my entire life. I thought the world was against me, but that guy, he went through some shit. He went from sleeping on dirt floors to where his mom didn't know where the fuck he was. And then he sent her a letter from boot camp. And for you younger listeners, you don't really know how hard life can be. But yeah, I don't know where to go with that. But I could talk about his time in the military for years.
So his mom didn't know. So
no.
When you said he slept on dirt floors, that was his time in his home when he grew up.
Oh yeah.
And then he just, when he left, he didn't tell his mom.
Well, okay, so I'm not clear how the story goes, but according to him, so my uncle, who is passed, obviously, he was, my dad's older brother, one of my dad's older brothers. They're all dead now, all four of them. But one of my uncles was okay, so you hear, if you watch like Saving Private Ryan, you hear about the paratroopers that were put in the wrong spot and they got captured by the Germans. My uncle was one of those guys, and they got put into a concentration camp. And so when my dad heard that, my grandmother read that letter out, he was just like, fuck that. So in his own mind, he was going to go try to find his brother. Well, by the time he joined, we'd already beaten the Germans, and they'd my uncle came home, but he was already in boot camp. So that's why he never saw time or saw combat in World War II, because he was just aboard ship when we were bombing the Japanese. So he was just there doing cleanup duty, like getting the CBs and then, pulling the Navy out, and they were just ground troops. But, no, that was kind of his whole thing. So he left home, didn't tell anyone. Just left home, and he didn't have an ID because he was we're talking the 40s. So he didn't have an ID. You just kind of went on your own word, and he made up a birthday and told the recruiter, I'm 18. I want to go fight. And they took him and didn't tell his mom, didn't tell his dad, nothing. Just fucking disappeared.
Wow.
And then sent her a letter home from boot camp. He's like, I joined the Marines, yada, yada, yada. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you where I was going, but that's where I went. And it's and I can see myself a lot in him, because I'm that type of person where I'll just like, oh yeah, I did this thing, by the way, after the fact. And it's like, I did a thing, and it's a life-changing ordeal, but I thought you should know about it 8 months after it happened. Because they were worried about him. Like they were just like, they're like, I don't know, he just ran away. And now he went to join the Marine Corps.
And where did he grow up?
Dilley, Texas.
Okay.
It's right by the border. actually, a more interesting story, like my grandfather was actually a spy for the United States during the Mexican Revolution. He's a cousin of Pancho Villa. And so he was basically fighting against, he was a spy against his own cousin, caused him to get shot in the neck. But he was that we can go to a way longer story than that. I mean, it's a very fascinating tale about how a man who was going to be a priest and not have sex for the rest of his life, and then fought for the United States, and then got shot, tied to a donkey, and then they fucking just let the donkey go, and then he landed upon a farmhouse, and this farmer took him in, nursed him to health, and my grandfather fell in love with the farmer's daughter. And if he hadn't have done that, I would not be here. We wouldn't be talking.
Well, my goodness, that sounds a bit like a movie.
Well, it's not. It would be a really shitty movie.
Okay, so wow, your dad went through some stuff, and sounds like you said you didn't know how he became the man that he was, but I would venture to say that all of that stuff went into that.
Well, yeah, I mean, in his story, I mean, he's just like me. I mean, he was a rebel, and how he became to be a pastor was. Well, okay, so my grandfather was a pastor. So that's how, like, he was going to be a priest, then he joined the war, and then he fell in love, and he's like, well, I'm not going to swear off sex, but I still want to be a man of God. So, I mean, he came from a family of the cloth, but he was kind of like me. He just didn't believe in any of it. And then they fully intended on going to a revival of, like, they went to a revival or a tent, whatever the fuck they call it. And he got fucking wasted, and he was fully intending on just like heckling the entire time. And then I guess something spoke to him. And after that, he's just like, he quits. Like, he had a pack of cigarettes in his pocket. He crushed those up, threw them in the trash can, quit drinking day one. And then started talking to that minister and was like, okay, well, I want to do what you do. And it was just like a life-changing moment for him. I mean, he'd already had the influence of, being a pastor or, a Jeebus and stuff. But, it was just like, he's like, no, this is when I want to help people. He's always been like one of those guys that wants to help people. Mm-hmm. And so I think he figured that was the way to do it. So, yeah, but that was a life-changing experience for him. And then he started going to college and became a pastor, which was really weird.
And then he was a pastor the entire time.
Oh, yeah, until he died. Yeah, I mean, until he died when he was 88. I think when he was 82, he preached his last sermon. And that was, I mean, and he was holding on by a near thread then. But yeah, man, 50 years.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned that he had dementia, and then, so I know sometimes, music or things that are familiar to a person can kind of bring them out of that for a little bit. Did you see religion? Did that do that for him?
No, but music did. Music did. When we did one of the hillside things, my mom took him out there, and he just was like, he was in a wheelchair, and he just dug it. Like, she's like, he was just moving around. And then we were watching, it was a Thanksgiving. We were watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and they had a band going, marching band going through. And he just heard the horns, and he just looked at me, and he's like, that band where you guys played at that barn? He's like, you guys were really good. And then back to gone.
Wow.
And, but so when he was in the hospital or when he was in the nursing home, I would play, my dad is the guy that got me into music. He is that, like, my mom, she kind of helped with like the Beatles and stuff, but like my dad was the guy that, like, so I feel like I'm telling a story of like something that, like, I feel like I'm telling a Forrest Gump story, but my dad was actually around for like some really cool shit. Like, he was really into rock and roll. And so, the song The Day the Music Died, my dad was at the concert with Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly. I still have the flyer for it. And So that's like, my dad was just like so into rock and roll that, I mean, that's like, that's where my musical influence comes from. So when he was in the hospital, I would just play rock and roll, like Chuck Berry, you know, Richie Valens, Buddy Holly. And then he would just like, there's a video going around of a former dancer that has dementia, and she used to be dance to like Swan Lake or whatever the fuck ballet shit is. But I could do that for my dad, and I would just play like, and he would just like, I mean, he wouldn't be so responsive, but he would just like look up like and just start nodding his head to it. And so that really worked for him. The Bible stuff, my mom used to read the Bible to him every day, but he was just kind of checked out. But like the music, I think it really sent him back to his younger, like that's when he finally, like, I feel like he kind of woke up and he's like, oh yeah, I know this. I like this. This is amazing. More, please, more. And then because when you turn it off, he just like, oh, and then just go back to where he was. So yeah, I mean, but no, like the religion thing never really, that never really came back to him once he lost everything. So
you talked about he was your musical influence. So tell me, when you were growing up, did he start teaching you instruments?
No, he didn't, because he had a few friends that were in the Marines that he tried to start, that wanted to start bands with him. And because he was a great singer. I mean, I didn't get this from nothing. I didn't get my voice from no one. I mean, he was a great singer, but he just didn't want, he saw how musicians lived, and basically how I live now. And he didn't want that. He's like, you're never going to do anything as a musician. He's like, you're going to try really, really hard, and you're probably not going to amount to anything. I'm like, okay, we'll see. But he was just, that was his whole thing. Like he just didn't want, he wanted the best for a kid. And it's like every parent, you want your kids to live better than you did.
Yeah. And the other thing too, is I've heard about a few parents who, like in their life and the jobs that they chose and how they did their life, somehow they feel it's inadequate for their kids, like your dad didn't want you. Well, obviously with the Marine, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't want that for you, but even for the musician thing, they like the lives that they've lived, I guess they've lived good lives and they've provided for their families and they've done everything that they needed to, but they always feel it's inadequate and they want better. Yeah. What you were saying. You said it. Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. Like, he was just like, I remember when he bought me my first guitar, it had one string on it. And he's like, here you go. Here's a guitar. You wanted a guitar so bad? Here's a guitar. I was like, well, they're supposed to have 6. He's like, well, go buy some strings then. And I was like 12 and I didn't have a job or anything. I was like, what the fuck am I going to buy some strings, dude? You don't even give me an allowance, man. What the fuck is going on here? And he's just like, well, if you want strings, go mow the lawn. I'm like, all right. And I still hate mowing the lawn because of that, man. I'll pay somebody to mow the fucking lawn. I do not like mowing the lawn. But it was just like, he was just like, yeah, if you want something, it was also a learning tool. Like, if you want something, you have to earn it. So he was teaching me a valuable lesson, but at the same time, I'm like, man, you bought me a goddamn guitar. Give me at least one with 6 strings and make me work on how to learn how to tune it. Like, what the fuck? But, and still to this day, I have a $700 guitar sitting on the other side of my fucking studio. I can play like 6 songs.
What's your instrument or, instrument of choice?
My voice.
And what have you done with your voice?
I've been in a couple bands. I mean, I don't like to beat my own drum, but I think one thing that I have that's positive about my vocal cords, which my dad actually did teach me how to use. I know how to harmonize very well. My mom, God love her, she cannot sing her way out of a fucking paper bag. She's just not good at it. But my dad could always harmonize. And that's one of the things he taught me, was just like, he's like, okay, well, they're singing this note, you need to go down or you need to go up. And he's like, you got to hit this different octave. and, to do the harmonies with it. And that's how I learned to sing. And after that, like, I was just like, who the fuck needs to play the fucking guitar? Like, you've got amazing guitar players in the world, but there aren't that many good singers. There's a few. And then there's a ton that, the music industry has, gone and fucked with and like edited to where it sounds like Britney Spears. That's a good one. Terrible singer. She sounds like fucking a cat in a fucking dryer. But man, when I went to college, at Full Sail, like one of my teachers worked on her first album, and he got a Grammy from that shit. And he's like, no, she sings terrible. He's like, but I can fucking auto-tune and edit the fuck out of that shit. I'm like, all right, I want to learn how to do what you do.
Do you write songs right now? Would you write me a song?
I could write you a song. It's going to take me a while. Here's the thing about me writing music. I've never played or recorded a song that I've written because I'm too hard on myself. And I've had several friends that have read them and they're like, dude, that's a solid fucking track. I'm like, no, I don't ever want, because I'm just too overcritical of how I write because I want it to be good. And I think I want it to be too good. I'm trying to be Kanye, but I'm not. I mean,
you know what? You just go out there and you put down what you got. And if the people who they won't pick it up if they don't want to, and the ones
and that's the thing. And I've kind of, so there's prospects since we moved to Kansas City. I've had a fortune of good luck. My buddy Brian, the T-Meyer, who used to be in the Mishaps, he knows the drummer from Bad Manners. And I know that probably doesn't mean anything to you, but Bad Manners was a humongous band in the UK in the 80s. Like, they were a huge ska band. And the guy lives in Kansas City, and he was like, I'm tired of being like a dad. He's like, I want to play drums again. And I guess Brian told him I was the guy to fucking talk to. So there's talk. I haven't met the guy yet. We're talking about.
Just take it. You act like it's a burden that you're the one to talk to, but I mean, that's how it is. So you just.
No, I don't know. That's huge, man. That's like that's like a ska and reggae legend. And I'm nervous. You meet somebody like that and that's the way I've always been around famous people. Like, we opened up for the Pie Tasters and the Agrolites, and all my band was just like fucking chatting it up with them and fucking, palling around. And I'm just like over there off to the fucking corner. Like, I don't want to, with like the Agrolites, Jesse Wagner, Darren, who's no longer with us, he tried to pull me over. He's like, I'm sitting here talking to Jesse Wagner and you're not going to have a fucking beer with him. It's like, dude, that guy don't want to hear from me. It's just so like, I just don't want to, I hate fanboys. I really do. And I think I hate it enough to where I can't like go talk to somebody that I really admire and be like, hey man, you have helped change my fucking life for the better. But that's the thing. I think that is being a fanboy. I just want to have a regular conversation with the dude. But when it's somebody like that, I cannot do it. So I just stick off to myself.
Well, at least you know yourself.
Yeah, well, kind of.
So your band, tell me about your band. You said its name a bit ago.
The Mishaps.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to hear about that?
Why? Because you have music out there, right?
No, we don't. I took it all off.
Well, why?
We're on because it's $50 a month or a year, and I don't want to pay that because no one else. I've paid for it. It was a matter of protest, and the protest didn't go the way I wanted it to. So I've been paying for the Mishaps to be on Apple, Spotify. I paid for it for the whole that once we released music, I paid for it. Mm-hmm. And I never got paid. Like, no one ever pitched in. And then every year it's like, $50, man, I could have bought like a case of beer with that. No one else is chipping in. No one else cares. None of the guys in the band care. So like, fuck it. Take it off. Now we have like 3 songs on Reverb Nation, but yeah, that's about it. Like, I mean, I've got some CDs. I've got like 50 CDs if anybody wants one. Awesome. For the low price of free.
Would you ever say that, well, okay, so tell me about how, I mean, your dad lived his life and then he started having his health issues. Tell me about that end part there.
Okay. Well, we now find out, I mean, I'm going to say right off the bat, like we found out later that it was Agent Orange caused it from Korea and Vietnam. But he had cancer when I was in high school. He had prostate cancer, but he made it through that like a fucking boss. And then like when I was right before me and Ashley got married, or right after me and Ashley got married. Actually, no, it was before because because I was living at Ashley's mom's house. Like we were living in the basement and he would flip the fuck out on her mom because we weren't living in a godly way. She had people, you know, premarital sex was on her. Like, dude, you were in the fucking Marine Corps. Shut the fuck up. But I didn't realize, I thought he was just being a dick, but no, he was just losing it. Like he was starting to you know, his brain was separating from reality. And that was the earliest signs. And so my mother-in-law, just to be, you know, it's just like, hey, we're probably going to be family soon. She brought my dad some fresh tomatoes and jalapenos from her garden. And he's like, well, one of the tomatoes had a worm. She brought me rotten tomatoes. One had a fucking worm in it. And so I was like, dude, you're being a obnoxious asshole. I'm not being an asshole. I just don't like you living over there. I'm like, what, with white people? Fuck off, dude. Like, I don't know. What do you want? He goes like, well, you're having sex out of wedlock. I was like, yeah, tons of people are doing it, bro. Get on the fucking, like, but I didn't understand. So we had a really hard time where I just like, he was supposed to perform our wedding, but he was being such a dickhead about it that I had my friend, you know, perform the service. And I look back on it now and I feel bad about it because he was still pretty coherent, but at the same time he was starting to fade. And I think it wasn't, I don't blame him for being that asshole. I think he was just starting to lose it. And that's when we first started knowing it or realizing it, or, well, it's not even that. When I first started actually figuring something was wrong was like 2 years after me and Ashley were married, we were living in their basement and
in your parents' basement.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you would just hear like bang, bang, bang on the floor. Or like, well, we were in the basement. So like, you know, on the above us and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so I run upstairs. Well, the wood floor in their kitchen had like an inch, not even an inch, like a eighth of an inch gap in it. And he didn't like it. So to him, something was wrong with it. So he was trying to kick the wood back into place. And he would do that like every night. I'm like, what are you doing? And he just looked at me like he didn't know me. And then he started calling Ashley that girl because he couldn't remember her name. And that's where we're just like, oh, something is happening here. And then like after that, like seriously, within 8 years, like it was, well, I mean, we got married. It's been 12 years when we got married. And so, yeah, second year in. So about 10 years, it was like within 5 years, though, he was in a nursing home.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was that rapid. Like it was just like slowly losing it slowly. Like he would hit our cars. Like he ran into my car and he ran into Ashley's car and would not admit to hitting it because he didn't remember that he actually hit them. But like you could see the paint. He had a white car and I have white paint on my red car bumper and Ashley had a red car and there's white paint there. It's like, and then there's red paint on the side of his vehicle. So it's like, dude, you clearly hit this car. I didn't hit it. I haven't even driven today. I'm like, dude, you just got home. What the fuck is wrong with you? I thought he was just being an asshole. Like, but at the same time, like you know the guy and he's not. So like something is clearly wrong. But yeah, then he started calling Ashley that girl, the girl in the basement. And then every time we would come over, like after we moved out, we were only in their house for like a year, not even a year. But once we got our own place, we would come over. And then we would leave. He's like, why does he keep coming around with that girl? And my mom's like, That's Ashley. That's his wife. You were at their wedding. We have photos of this. What are you talking? No. Who's Ashley? Alex's wife. Was that the girl that was with him? Yes. Like then it started declining. I mean, then to where like he had no fucking clue what day it was, which is, I mean, I don't know. If I were to die, I don't know if I could. I mean, after seeing it happen to somebody to where they don't know who they are, like at the end of everything, he thought I was his brother, one of his brothers. And I'm cool with that. I'm really cool with that. But he always knew my mom, which was,
oh, really?
Which was fantastic. I mean, that was good for her.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I can go when he died. It was crazy, dude. It was fucking crazy. I'll tell you that. So my mom went, we were in the nursing home. We knew he was actively dying. But my mom needed a break. And so I had her friends took her out to lunch. And so I just sat there and I had like 2 hours with him where I just like, I kind of did the taxi cab confession about everything I've done wrong in my life to him. And he just like, it was okay. It was crazy because after I told him all that, I said, you know what? The best thing I've ever had that ever happened to me was you were my dad. And he just gripped my fucking hand. And then he went back to where he was. And then my mom came back from her lunch deal and she like, I went home to go change, like just take a shower and change. And I was going to come back. And as I was in the shower, she called me and she's like, he died. And I'm like, what the fuck? So he waited to have his little time with me and then hold my mom's hand and then out. Mm-hmm. That's so fucking punk rock, dude. God, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I do feel like that, that it does seem in a lot of situations that they are kind of able to pick a little bit.
Yeah.
Or try to hold on, just as much as for what, they just kind of know.
Yeah.
What they need, I think, sometimes.
God damn it, Steph. I don't like this show anymore.
That's cool.
I mean, I knew this is gonna come out.
Have you talked to anybody really about this?
No, you're the first person.
Yay.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to my wife a little bit, but like,
yeah, people, there's just some things that you don't want to tell. Not tell. No, you don't want to tell, but you just want to put all that on them sometimes.
Well, I feel more comfort knowing, and honestly, I should talk to my wife more because she lost her dad, and that she could be another one you could have on because she could tell you her dad was a awesome and crazy guy. But I feel I should talk to her more. But I do feel like talking about losing a parent is easier with people who lost parents. But I just like her dad passed away so long ago before we were married. So like I kind of like it's almost out of my mind. And just like, I don't know.
That's a whole nother level that I'm interested in now. Once your dad passed away, did you have like more of an understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, I mean, I'm a fucking asshole. So I'm not gonna, I mean, this is a disclaimer for everybody, but, after we got married, we've been together and we got married, and the first few years, the day her dad died was like, she would always be like in this fucking pissed off, sad mood. And I was like, I mean, what are you going to, I mean, he lived a great life. I couldn't understand it at all. I could kind of, I felt for her, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, there's no reason to be an asshole to me. Mm. And then now every April 8th, well, for at least for 2 years, I don't try to be an asshole, but it's just not a fun fucking day. Mm-hmm. And that day and the Marine Corps birthday, November, it was just happened. It's right before Veterans Day, November 10th.
What do you mean by that? The Marine Corps birthday? The birth
is 200 today. This year was their 245th year of being like an actual branch of the military. And they're technically not a branch of the military. They're an arm of the Navy, but they still now, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they have their own little deal now.
Okay.
But, so technically my dad wasn't a Marine. He was in the Navy in the 40s, but he was a Navy Marine. weird fucking shit. But anyways, the Marines started 245 years ago, and I think it was a civil. I'm not a Marine, so I can't tell you the fucking history. But that was his favorite day. So
November the 10th.
November 10th. The 11th is Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
But technically the Marine Corps birthday is November 11th, but they celebrate it on the 10th. Don't know how that works.
Okay. So that was his favorite day. So that day actually just happened.
Yeah.
Now. So
that sucked. That was a bad day. But I like it that on my work route that I can just go and, if I want to be in my fields, then I can just park somewhere and be in my fields for a little bit and not have to bother anybody else with it.
Mm.
But I think that's another thing I got from my dad. We just hide emotion pretty well.
What is your dad's birthday?
January 19th, 1931.
Okay. So, and do you take those time on the, so November the 10th, you took that time and you remembered, your dad and everything. So on any of those other days or holidays, do you remember your dad? Or I guess, what do you just take some time out?
On April 8th, which is the day he passed, I will get insanely drunk to not think about that, because the way he looked when he died and the way he was in real life were two different things. That guy wasn't my dad. So, I mean, it still comes back to me, but honestly, when he passed away, I was kind of thank fucking Jesus. Let the man fucking die. And I actually am a little bitter towards my mother because she kept him alive so long and he just needed to fucking go. So, I mean, there were about 4 years where it was just this body in a bed that I know looks like my dad, but it's not my dad because he has waved bye-bye to this existence long ago. And, but it was just weird.
Sorry, didn't you say, you told me though that your dad always recognized your mom?
Yeah.
Even in these days that you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So one person he recognized.
Yeah. I wondered to her, I don't know. Sorry. I always try to do this, but I wondered to her if that was, he was still there a little bit because he recognized her, her. And I was thinking about your experience because, I didn't deal with years of this, but with my grandpa, the last time I saw him, I think he didn't recognize me. So I only had one instance of that. But for you, I was thinking your experience of him not recognizing you. And then you were talking about your mom. He always recognized her. You guys had completely different experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Outlooks on that.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're right.
How hard for you, though. You have to sit there and he's like, oh, and he knows your mom. And then you're probably what am I? And that happened to me one time, and that's how I felt. One time, and you had years of this.
Yeah. It's odd. I mean, it's kind of it's a toss up. I mean, one part of you wants to be mad because you're just dude, I'm your fucking kid, bro. I came from your balls. You created me, and you're calling me your brother? What the fuck? Now, granted, I do look like my uncle quite a bit. But he's just he could not he's that's my brother. I'm dude, no, I'm your son. I don't have a son. I'm okay, asshole. You got two of them. And the other one's not here. So let's at least let's
acknowledge the one that's here.
Acknowledge the one that's right in front of you. That's when I really started to get mad. But
yeah,
you fucking dick. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I haven't talked about Mom. I will put a pillow over his head if you just tell me. I'll do it. He called me. He said he doesn't have a son. I know you're mad, but he's got he's losing. He's got Alzheimer's. I'm yeah, but that's a dickhead thing to say. Still a dickhead thing to say. Even if I was on my deathbed and some child walked into my room and said, "Hey, you're my dad," I'm
son,
should have sent me a text earlier, bro. But hey, I love you. Fucking die, keel over and die. Mm-hmm. Oh man, But no, I think like with my mom, like, yeah, that was her whole deal. Like she wanted to keep him up keep him. I mean, that guy's the love of her life.
Yeah.
And I was jealous, I was judgmental about it because, it's also my father. So we're teetering on a mountaintop here to where we could go with this. But I mean, that was her husband. If Ashley was on life support, I would probably selfishly try to keep her alive as long as I could. But like my mom, I'm like, yeah, if I was going to die, just fucking let me die. Just do not keep me alive. No resuscitation. Just let me fucking croak. And my mom's the same way, but yeah. I mean, it had to be the fact that, he still knew who she was. And like, they were fucking very much in love till the end. So I can see her trying to keep him alive, but it pissed me off. Yeah, it really pissed you off. Well, I mean, when you have like your fucking, that guy was Superman. He was a fucking Marine sharpshooter. He preached the word of when I was a kid, he preached the word of the Lord. I was like, but like to me, like he couldn't do any wrong. Like he could always he worked on cars. He could pretty much, he could do anything. I was like, my dad is fucking Superman. And even in my teens, I tried to fight him. He was 70. Got my ass kicked. Didn't even land a punch. I fucking swung on him. He went back and then just clocked me and then pinned me to the ground. And I was like, I can't even fucking beat the guy's fucking 70 years old. Can't even fucking kick his ass. What the fuck is wrong with me? But so like that's the thing. It's like he was a superhero. Like he's a 70-year-old man beating up a 16-year-old kid. Like what the fuck's going on here? And then when he went down, it was just like done. It just deteriorated so fast, man. Like like every day was fucking different. It's man, Alzheimer's and dementia, man. That's a nasty thing. It's so terrifying.
We'll be right back.
If you'd like to support the show and have access to exclusive content, please visit www.patreon.com/parentlesspodcast. If you have a story you'd like to share, please give me a call at 623-396-6069. You don't even have to talk to me if you don't want to. You can leave a voicemail. You can send me a letter at parentlesspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for taking the time to stop in.
Do you have coping mechanisms?
I've tried to quit back on drinking. I'm doing pretty well. Some days I fucking tie one on, but it happens. Cigarettes are key. I cannot not smoke. And
we're talking about real cigarettes now, right?
Oh yeah.
We're talking about this little vape business.
No, cigarettes. No, my coping mechanism is definitely cigarettes and booze are the worst ones. And it's not a coping mechanism. It shouldn't be a coping mechanism. I should probably talk to people. I have talked to a doctor or a therapist, and I feel like they're judging me and they don't understand me because they keep asking me questions that I don't want to answer.
Like what?
And I think that's the point of a therapist, though. I think they're supposed to get you to answer, to get to that uncomfortable spot. And I'm not going to say a question.
Yeah, no, I wonder because people come out of a session and they're like, oh, that was so good. And I had tears and I just feel so, it was rough, but I just, and I'm just like, well, tell me about a session. Like, what do they ask you? Like, what happens? And nobody really does that part yet, but some people might, but.
It's just like.
You really don't have to say it's okay.
Well, no, it's, it's somebody that you don't know. And it kind of sucks that you have to pay. We should have more people that you can just that you don't have to pay for this. Just some person that will listen to you.
More
just fucking vomit fucking information. And I mean, I know why they go to school because Jesus Christ, for an hour, they have to deal with a lot of fucking bullshit from people. Just like all of a sudden, just people just come in and open up their fucking lives, and then like, and they're just supposed to sit there and try to offer advice. What a fucking shitty job. Like, I feel so bad for them.
The ones, I don't know, sometimes I like to watch the therapy shows, and when they say things, it's more like, yes, they're asking questions, but they're not necessarily giving advice. I mean, sometimes they are. Sometimes they give like really good advice, but they're really like making you get around to the own point of like what they already know.
What's really going on. Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so I didn't want to go to therapy. So here I am talking to everybody else. And
you know what? It's therapy. I mean, I've said things that I've never told anybody. So
woohoo! Now you're telling the world, which in my world is like 25 people probably. So
hey, all you 25 people out there, you should share it to like 25 more of your friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're gonna get to 1,000 listens soon. And then
hell yeah!
We're
probably gonna lose some after this episode.
Oh no, they'll probably be inspired by you, Alex. So happy. You never know.
Well, that'll be the first. Anytime somebody's been inspired by you.
So is, you might, I would love to put some of your music in this episode somehow. Is that possible?
Derek has it.
Okay.
He bought our album on iTunes. One of the 6 people that actually bought our album. But he's got it on his iTunes. So he's got full permission to play it, but he can't play the song that he always fucking plays. And, he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'll tell him that.
Every goddamn time I'm on the air with that guy, he likes to try to pull that one out of his ass. And it pisses me off because it's the song I hate the most.
Hey, so I'm gonna pull you back in, and we're going to go to this question. It's a cheap shot, but it has to be asked because it does make a difference. How do you feel your life has been changed by the death of your father?
Gee, that's right in the fucking balls, dude. God damn it, Steph. That's fucking tough, man. God damn it, Steph. Now you're actually making me fucking think about this shit. I don't know. It hasn't changed too much in a negative way. I do try to, like, it's kind of weird, but I feel like, I mean, the man, like, I'm an atheist, but the guy was a man of God, and I'm not that type of atheist where I tell people they're fucking stupid for believing in God, and that was that guy's life. So I tried to be a better person because he could be watching, and he'd just be like, I mean, just in case. I mean, maybe that makes me a little bit agnostic, I guess. But I kind of feel like, yeah, if my dad was seeing me like do what I'm doing right now, like he wouldn't be mad. He would be disappointed. And honestly, every kid knows that your parents being mad at you is way better than I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And then you're just like, oh, I'll just cut my fucking head off already. So that's where I'm at with that. Like it has changed me for the better on that I try to be a better person, but at the same time, I'm way more of an asshole because I'm bitter, because there's people that are fucking giant shitbags that still exist. And then my dad had to be the one that fucking lost his mind, a brilliant human being. And I'm not getting political, but then we have like Donald Trump in the White House. My dad would have lost his fucking mind, and he was a diehard Republican. He would have lost his shit if he saw Donald Trump become president, which I'm glad he didn't. But and I'm not trying to get political with it whatsoever. But just to hear that dude just like, what the fuck? I mean,
yeah. No, I get what you mean. I saw a post recently, and they were talking about just kind of maybe not carrying on what they would have done, but just thinking about what, like some people were really into politics or whatever. And just by thinking about, oh, well, this is what this person would have reacted, like that was just really a big thing that I did see a lot posted about. So.
Yeah, well, and not even that. I mean, it's just like sports, and man, he was a diehard Cowboys fan, and if he saw how the Cowboys were playing this year, he'd probably hang himself.
Hey, I'm in a fantasy football league, and I don't really watch football, but I heard that the Cowboys were not doing so good.
No, they're doing terrible. And I like it that way because all my family all my mom and dad's family are from Texas. I have one cousin that actually lives in KC, and he's like 60. So we don't hang out much. We don't see eye to eye on everything. But like they're all from Texas, and they're all diehard Cowboys fans. And man, I fucking love it when they suck. And my sister's husband is a diehard Eagles fan. And so me and him can just like ramp up on the entire family and just troll them.
Oh, I bet you do that well.
Oh, wow. I'm a great troll. I'm a pretty good troll. I'm told. That's what I'm told. It's just fun to talk shit. I don't think there's not another sport that's better than talking shit to people.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
See how I deferred from that question?
That's okay. Yeah, everybody has a pass to answer and not answer how they'd wish.
I think what you're doing here is good. I mean, it's just, you're letting people get you're a person who's lost a parent and is letting another person talk about their experience. And I think it's fucking amazing, man. Like I'm going to walk out of here and feel great today because I got a lot of shit off my shoulders. And I understand not wanting to share or wanting to do it in the proper way. Oh, you wanted to hear another funny story about my dad. So my mom, when I would act up in church, while he's up on the pulpit and everything, he would, or I would just like start singing a song or like, cause I was bored. So I was like, I think at that age, I was like, I don't buy all this shit. So I'm just like acting up and just like making noise. Also, I have ADHD. So my mom would take me, if I was being too loud, she would haul me to the bathroom and beat the shit out of me with her shoe. like that was going to make me shut the fuck up. And so my dad fucking had to go tell her. He's like, we can hear him screaming in the auditorium. Uh-oh. You can't do this anymore. And she was like, well, I didn't think that, like, I thought that, I was like, Mom, it was a Mexican built church. Like it was a little fucking shanty of a church. It's still there, but they didn't have a fucking it was built on the side of a hill. They didn't even have a basement for years. And like, it was just a fucking terribly built church. And it had paper thin walls. And so he's like, I didn't think they could hear me in there. And he's like, oh, we heard everything. He said, no, Mom, what did I do? And you're sitting there smacking him. He's like, you can't do that anymore. He's like, somebody's going to call the cops. I was like, well, I'm glad, when my mom told me that story, I was like, I'm really glad that he was worried about my well-being versus the cops coming in arresting him.
Your dad had your back.
Well, no, he had her back. He's just like, well, I understand why you're beating him. He's being a little asshole. But if somebody else calls the cops, we're just...
Well, this is a good time for me to know about, you said that you're an atheist or however your beliefs are, and they are different from your dad's. Now, having that upbringing, being around that all of the time, and then now your beliefs now, tell me how they go together. I don't know. Really,
when I started questioning things was really when I discovered who gay people were or what gay people were. It was, my parents would be, or my dad was more supportive than my mom was. But I just knew that gay people were bad, and I didn't know why, because my mom would still get her hair cut from a gay dude. And she's like, yeah, he's a really nice guy, but he's gay. And she'd let that guy cut my hair. And I'm like, well, what's so wrong with being gay? He's a nice dude. Like, what the fuck? Well, God says that that's bad and he's going to go to hell. I'm like, why would God send this kid to hell? He's a nice dude. Well, you can't just be a nice person to get into heaven. Like, oh, well, that's stupid. I don't think it but I just couldn't fathom the fact like, what has this man done wrong? And I didn't understand what being gay was. I mean, I didn't understand the mechanics, but that doesn't matter. The mechanic, I mean, sex is sex, whatever the fuck you want. I mean, it's all gross. I just didn't like, I was like, why are we telling this man he's going to go to hell because he's gay? Like I couldn't get it. And she's like, well, you know, God only gays are against God and God only lets good people into heaven. I'm like, well, he's not a bad person. And so that's when I kind of started to question it. That's about the time I was like, about 11, 10 or 11. And then when I was 12, I started smoking weed and I got really into it. Like no, none of this makes any fucking sense. And then once I got in it, but I was still forced to go to church every week, you know, cause you know, the shitty thing about being a pastor's kid is you've got to be a poster child. You know, you've got to be the best kid in the fucking world. Like, well, the preacher's kid doesn't do that. I'm like, no, the preacher's kid snorted lines off of his communion Bible. But no, like you just had to be, it's weird because and I don't resent anything about my father, but one of the things that I resented when I was younger, but now I realize he just had to play, you know, he had to play his part in the world. But like we could have a full blown family, like argument, battle royale, like fucking crazy argument. And then as soon as that he opened the door to that church, we were on. Like we had to be that perfect family. It was fucking weird. And that's what I was like, this is all fake. Like none of this is real. You guys are just reading a book that is like guidelines. And then, you know, I kind of got into like Greek mythology and started researching other religions. And it's like, it's all the same thing. Like you guys are just using what this deity, because you can't explain, people that didn't know science and couldn't explain how things worked had like, they put it to a story because they couldn't explain anything. And I get that. But it's such an antiquated way of looking at life. Like, I mean, every single religion talks about basically be a good person, you know, don't steal, don't murder people. It's the general rules of how you should live life. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that Moses parted the seas or the Red Sea. I don't think any of that shit ever happened. I mean, it might have happened, but why are we not having miraculous shit happen to us now? We have COVID, so I guess that's pretty miraculous. But that's how I got to it. That's how I got to be the person I am. I was just like, no, none of this makes sense. Like I try to, it's really hard to explain without being a dickhead about my parents' religion. But I just don't need to explain it. I don't need that long ass fucking story to explain how the world works. Like to tell me I don't have to have a faith or a belief in a mystical being to know that I shouldn't kill anybody, I shouldn't steal, and I shouldn't murder. So why are all these fucking songs? Why is his name on our fucking money? What the fuck is going on here? But yeah, so in a roundabout way, that's why I'm an atheist.
Okay. And then you told us that maybe your dad might be looking down on you as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? I'm not trying to pin you down there. I have no idea what I think.
You see there, that's where I go. It's like, I'm probably more agnostic than an atheist, because there's that chance that he's looking down on me. Very disappointed right now. He's like, man, you've been doing some fucked up shit. Like, no, I haven't. But I don't know. It's one of those. You're always self-conscious because I think maybe that's an even bigger wormhole. I'm not going into that. But no, I mean, that's where I feel like he could be looking at me like, you son of a bitch. I mean, as long as you have hope in life, that I guess it doesn't matter what you believe in. But religion to me is like a penis. You know, it's all cool to fucking have. And then when you start waving it in other people's faces without them asking for it, that's when we start having a problem.
I love it. I love it.
But I mean, it's really what it is. It's like, I mean, I got arrested one time, and a friend came and who actually lives in Kansas City, and I hope he doesn't hear this, but I still love him to death. But he was doing like missionary work when we were in high school, and he was talking to inmates at the jail. And I was in there getting ready to be arrested. And he's like, hey, can I pray with you real quick? And I was like, sure, dude. I don't know what it's going to do. They're still going to take me back there. So, but sure. So he prayed with me. And then I went right to my jail cell. And I did get biscuits and gravy that night or that morning. So I guess his prayer was answered by the Jeebus. He said that, you know what, I'm not going to get him out of jail, but we'll give him the best biscuits and gravy the world has ever offered.
What do you do for work these days?
I'm a milkman. Like just what you're thinking of. Like the milkman, like the 70s or the 60s and shit. Like I go up to people's houses every morning and deliver milk and stuff to their little milk boxes. Work 4 days a week, 3 days off. Great fucking job.
What kind of, you really go to people's houses?
Yeah. Like, dude, like a milkman. like you know, the guy with the white. Yeah. I don't wear the white shit. I wear all black.
What kind of milk are you delivering? I didn't know this. Well,
we have the guy that owns it, like his parents have like a big dairy, and they bottle their milk in like glass bottles and they sell it in stores. Well, he's like, he quit his job as a CEO of some major company, and
do they advertise?
Oh yeah,
I feel like maybe I did see something because they're
we were on CNN.
Was very specific to like glass jars and right.
Yeah, we were on CNN. He did an interview like right when COVID hit, but they've been doing this for 4 years. So like I think we're going into our 5th year. But when COVID hit, they made a big fucking deal because there's only like 10 companies that do this. But yeah, we're milkmen, like you would think from the 50s. Like people have a little porch box or a cooler, and we go, they make an order, and then we pull their order, and we go take fresh milk.
Is the milk better?
Out of the glass bottle, yeah. Well, and this is I mean, it's all our shit's like GMO free, so we still only like clean. I mean, it's all organic fucking product and stuff. So like, we're not just delivering milk. We deliver like grocery, or like fresh produce. And it's all from locally, like our lettuce is grown hydroponically in Kansas City.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It like they really support local like companies, like especially during COVID, they're like, you know, whatever we can fucking push out for these fucking people, you know. We'll be in business with them, and so it's really nice. I mean, now the one in Phoenix, I don't know if they're going to start delivering, but it's called Danzeisen Dairy, and they partnered with Alice Cooper, but it's from Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. I'll send you the picture of that, but it's really weird. Like, I mean, when they started doing that in Phoenix, I mean, my buddy just sent me this picture on Friday, but I could move to Phoenix, be a milkman, just teach them how to fucking do it. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't work though. Like it's got to be, you've got to have it. You've got to. Oh man, I would never want to do my job. I've lost 56 pounds doing this job, and no, it's just hard fucking work, and I don't think I can do it in Phoenix, Arizona, when it's 110 at 9 o'clock. Because we go to work at like 2:30 in the morning. Man, so where do we want to go with this now? I've gone on ADHD tangents quite a bit.
That is okay. So I'm sitting here looking at you. You got your Raiders shirt, your Raiders hat, your Raiders phone case. And is there a game coming up?
Yeah, we're playing the Denver Broncos here in about 20 minutes.
Okay, so 20 minutes there.
No, well, I mean, I don't care. We're probably going to beat them. So.
Oh. Well, my goodness.
I'm feeling confident this year. We beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So that's dicks are coming out swinging.
I do happen to I never used to pick the Chiefs for anything, but now that they got what's his face,
Mahomes,
I was picking him on my little fantasy football league.
Oh, you better stick with him because that guy's good. I mean, I cannot stand the Chiefs, and I live in Kansas City, so I've got a heavy opposition. But no, the guy's just a cool dude. Like I like him. I admire him as a player. He's he bought part of the Royals, and he's just he's a badass quarterback, and he does a lot of good for the city. And he's bringing Whataburger to Kansas City.
Can't beat that.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
All right. Well, guess what? We're gonna get back into some stuff for you now.
Okay.
All right. What is one or several things that you would say to your dad now, if you could?
We were having such a great conversation.
You can count on me.
Man, you sure you don't want to talk about football? Like, So what's the question again? What is that? What's something if I could say?
If you could tell your dad anything, whatever you could now, what would you tell your dad?
Thanks. I could have been. I was trying to be funny, but I know. Seriously, thanks for being my dad. I'm sure it probably wasn't easy on you, but just to be, so we could be correct, it wasn't easy on me either. I don't think I would tell him I resented anything about my life, but at the same time, I would say like, I resent being thrown into religion so full force. But all in all, he did a great fucking job. That's probably what I'd say. I would like, look, man, you fucked up, but everybody's a fuck up. No one's perfect, but all in all, you did a real job. I mean, I'm not in fucking prison. I've never murdered anybody. So I have been to jail a couple times, but so have you. But yeah, I turned out okay. I have a way better taste in music than you do. I don't know, man. I really, that's such a hard question. And this is all just rambling like shit off the top of my head. Like I don't know exactly what I would say. Mm-hmm. If I could, well, and the thing about it is I hadn't had a conversation with him. I mean, even, years before he died, I hadn't had a conversation with him in like 3 years. So it was, I don't know, man. That's a question I haven't thought about. Like, what would I actually say to him? But yeah, real talk. First thing I would say, thank you. I mean, without you, I wouldn't be here. I don't know if the world thanks you, but I thank you because there's a lot of whiskey out there and I'd like to drink it. Oh man, I don't know. What would you say? That's a tough question.
It is a tough question. And I will tell you that most of my guests, we did this interview on the fly. And so most people, I do send a list of questions and they have a chance to think ahead of time. So actually, this is a better reaction. I probably get better answers this way. Well, I would probably say I'm sorry, I think. Yeah,
I think I would say I'm sorry I'm not the person you wanted me to be. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. But thanks for being, yeah. Why would you say you're sorry?
I don't know. I always felt like I was kind of a shit kid. And then like when I had kids, then I think I could see even more like just what you have to, I don't get to do the things that I want to do because I'm being a mom or having, making sure that my kids have what they need. And, I think that when you're kids and you just don't realize, I think so. Like, I think that they have had to go through and the sacrifices that they have made.
Do you start to feel like you're kind of selfish as a child? Like, that's where I kind of feel like, I was like, man, I'm a fucking selfish, entitled little bastard. Mm-hmm. Like my fucking parent, they gave up their whole fucking life for it. Well, my dad didn't. Spreading the love. But, she still like, he gave up everything. Well, for a while. And my mom did too, because when we moved to Nebraska from Dodge City, my dad didn't have a job. Like she was a principal of a school and he was an interim pastor for this church, but no one was paying him.
How did your parents meet?
I don't know.
Maybe you should find out.
I don't want to hear that story.
Okay.
Because because my mom will tell it and then she'll start crying and.
Oh, okay.
And then, no, I think they met at it was a church thing. It was like a convention or something, and she thought he looked attractive, and I guess he thought the same thing too. And then they started dating, and
yeah, no, I didn't realize that she was a principal.
Oh yeah, cool. She's got her own wing at Beeson Elementary named after her.
Oh,
the music wing, the Annette Aldape music wing.
Oh,
yeah, wow. Can't sing a fucking note. Cannot sing a goddamn note. And she's got a fucking music room named after her. Cannot understand that fucking logic. But she supported the arts. Now, granted, I bust my mom's balls a lot, but my dad was, when I got into punk rock music, my mom supported the shit out of it. And my dad hated it. He's a rock and roll guy, but at the same time, he's like, these kids, they dye their hair. Well, I can't speak in his accent, but they dye their hair pink and blue. And I'm not going to say what he called them, but he was also an old dude. Like, and that's from his generation. That's what they called shit. But, he just couldn't stand punk rock. He hated it. Everything about it. My mom was like, well, that's what he's into. So she would take me to shows. Like, she took me to go see Bad Religion and NoFX in New York. Like, it was fucking, like, she was pretty badass. Or she still is pretty bad. I don't want to talk about her. I want to talk about her like she's in the past tense because she's still with us. But yeah, man, I give her a lot of shit. But at the same time, she was just like, well, whatever you're into. Oh man, I like beating around the bush and not getting to the actual question to ask. I'm doing a really good job of deferring that. What else do you have? What other question do you want me to dance around?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm really interested in, but I don't know how long you want to be here.
Sure, I'm fine. No, I'm good.
Okay, so I would like to talk about, you even mentioned a few times that you drink sometimes, and you've done a lot better. So did you started getting better? Did you get a little bit, did you drink a little bit more after your dad passed away and then you've started doing better?
Yes. Well, I started drinking a whole lot more when.
And I'll probably take this part out.
No, it's fine. You can leave it. I started drinking a lot more when we lost Darren, which is crazy because booze is what killed him. But then when my dad died, I didn't want to handle it. I just wanted to because I thought in my mind, or what I was lying to myself about, was that, he hasn't known who I am for 4 years. Like I'm pretty, like I've said earlier, like, that man has gone, like the shell is all that's left. And so I'd put that into my mind and I'd beat it into my consciousness. And that wasn't the case. Like that was still like, it doesn't matter. Like when we last had a conversation, my superhero was gone. Superman has died. And so I started pouring. I mean, and that's the only way I could, I just wanted to not feel that feeling anymore. And booze was if I could drink enough whiskey, it would I'd just be a mindless fucking lunatic, or I'd just be like just a mindless monster, but I wasn't thinking about that anymore.
I think we should do a project together.
What's that? I
don't know. Get our shit straight together.
Well, I was going to do, I wanted to do No Bender November, but then I realized like 2 days into it that, the election's today. Yeah, probably going to need some drinks for that one. Yeah, that's not a good time to go sober. So I think the first of the year, I'm not going to do like a new year, new me bullshit. Like I think I'm just going to go like a couple months without drinking.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just looking for something I want to be in a good mood.
Man. Yeah, being in a good mood is hard. Now I think since we moved, everything is like with my mental health and like just like the way I look at my outlook on life is changed quite a bit. Because I used to blame it all on Dodge City. Like I just hated living there.
Guess what?
And then it's like, I really love, I love my job. I love where we live. I mean, Kansas City is beautiful, and I couldn't really ask for anything more. And then I'm like, all right, well, I still feel the same way. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to solve all my fucking problems. Mm-hmm. Well, so now I have to get more in touch with my inner being and maybe eat more kale. I don't know. Well, do you have any anything else? I've got to get to a football game. They're calling my name here. I'm about to walk on the field.
I guess the last one would be just, have you ever been to counseling or therapy? And is there anything you would like to ask a grief counselor if you had the chance?
I have talked to a therapist. It did help me out a lot. Also, it got me to get some questions from my mom. My mom's not the most open person in the world. I didn't find out until we moved to Kansas City and I started getting having bouts with like depression and shit. That my grandfather was institutionalized because severe bipolar disorder. Mm-hmm. And cool news to, like we talked about moving to Kansas City. I thought it would gonna solve all my problems. Then I realized, oh no, you have huge fucking problems, bro. And so I've talked to therapists. I don't do it regularly as I should, but I still talk to one. And I feel bad for the guy because I just go unload all my bullshit. And then I'm like, all right, call you in like 4 months. But yeah, I've done. Yeah. I mean, I have talked to one, but I don't know if I've gotten anything out of it. It's good to talk to, to just unload stuff on somebody. But other than that, they haven't really helped me. Mm-hmm. I still feel the same way. So she's like, oh, I got it off my chest. Oh no, it's still there. You just told somebody about it, and that guy didn't care. Like he's just listening.
Not that he doesn't care, but your money ran out.
Yeah, my money ran out. And so he's like, oh, and the hour's over. Man, we'll pick this up next time. I'm like, no, I don't ever want to talk about that shit ever again. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll just, we'll finish that next time and keep doing it. And like, no, dude, you're not helping me. You're just sitting there listening. I mean, it's cool to have somebody listen, but I want you to help me with this. Like, tell me what I need to do. We'll get to that next. So I don't think they really help. I don't know. That could be, that's just me, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't want help. I don't want or I want more help than I don't want somebody just to listen to me, because people just listen to me talk. That's cool. But I'm probably seeing the wrong guy because we just didn't click.
Yeah. I heard that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Get the right one at the right time. All that type of stuff. So, well, if you don't find them, I have a PayPal, and you can come back here again if you'd like.
I have found great therapy with Parentless Podcast. I mean, it's a fantastic place to be, and I'm so glad that we on just a random whim we got together. It's been a great conversation. Mm-hmm. I've rambled about nonsense, and you just. Like, all right, just let him go.
That's exactly what we do here. So, awesome. Hey, thank you for giving me your time. I know you have a football game coming up.
Steph, no, it's been a privilege to be on the show. I really like what you're doing. I mean, I think that this is a good outlet for people, like the people that have lost parents. I mean, it's good for someone to provide an avenue for people to express their frustrations, their memories, and not many people have that capability until now. Like, it's in no way is this like therapy, but it is a form of therapy where you could just have somebody that listens and let you just rant about what's going, like what is happening in your mind. So, I mean, I think this is great. I'm glad I came on here.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, Steph, thanks for having me on, and thanks for talking to me for so long. I got to go catch that football game, but
yeah, good luck there.
Peace out.
All right. Bye.
Off the Denver Broncos. Bye-bye.
Empty faces cover
recorded in Phoenix, Arizona. Find us on social media and any podcast platform. Music provided by Colin the Coco and the Revolving Birds. Studio provided by Fat Kid Productions. Check out one of the many shows available on our network. I'm your host, Stephanie Relaford. Thank you for listening to Parentless.
Scared. I kept my distance cause I was aware, but your attraction got my heart pumping. That's when I knew that we could be friends. It started out as a social engagement, but you knew we were meant for more. At first I met you with open arms. Now I'm just hoping I can crawl out the door. I can't go nowhere without you be around. I keep trying to leave without making a sound. If you let me, Lord, I swear I'd go. Well, I can pry your fingers on my throat. But that's between the bottle and me. We've had our fun at random parties, and I'm reminded of when we first started. Damn near lost a whole decade to you, winding away in the whiskey and blues. dance between the bottle and me.